much of anything. Krauthammer, once frenzied at Obama's revolutionary ambitions, sniffed 5 years later that he will be seen as a parenthesis in American political history. Rubin, hopefully anticipating a court ruling to overturn Obamacare that did not come, gloated in 2014 that he will end his presidency with no significant accomplishment, putting him in the running for the most unsuccessful president in history. More curious than the dismissal by the partisan opposition is how many Americans who did not oppose Obama's agenda came to believe something not much different. Obama's supporters spent most of his presidency in a state ranging from resignation to despair. In the New York Times, journalist Robert Draper identified the central critique of the Obama presidency as being far better versed in Hopi, changey atmospherics and cutting-edge campaign tactics than in actual governing. Veteran reporter Howard Feynman, writing in the Huffington Post in 2014, attempting to provide a sympathetic answer to the question, "Remember the fresh promise of Barack Obama? What happened to that guy?" This was not an idiosyncratic complaint, nor the expression of closeted hostility. The notion that Obama had largely failed to live up to his promise attained the status of conventional wisdom, so widely held that it often required no defense. It was more common to find Obama's defenders excusing his failure to deliver transformational change. It was the economy, or George W. Bush, or the partisanship of the Republicans in Congress that had thwarted him, than to hear them affirm that he had indeed delivered that change. This book records many important thought leaders expressing versions of this conviction, because it is worth placing them in a time capsule now. In the not very distant future, it will be hard to believe people predisposed to agree with Obama thought this way. Audacity is not a history of the Obama administration, nor is it a real-time repository of juicy inside accounts. It is a book that makes an argument. I am not making this argument like a lawyer who brushes aside any inconvenient facts that might damn his client, but as an opinion journalist who takes intellectual standards seriously. That is to say, my conclusion, while strongly favorable, is not entirely so. Obama, like any elected official, made mistakes and endured setbacks. This is not an official account of the administration, members of which disagree with parts of it, and none of them participated in it. It builds its case from information that was available to the public, yet that information, hiding in plain sight, often failed to be understood or appreciated. I know because I spent 8 years trying to make the case in the New Republic and New York Magazine, developing many of the arguments which this book synthesizes. The evidence that Obama succeeded in changing America in the major ways he set out to do is so strong that an explanation is required for why so many of us failed to see what was there all along. Barack Hussein Obama was introduced to America as a youthful, magnetic Illinois state senator representing a portion of Chicago's South Side who had burst suddenly and somewhat mysteriously on the scene. An electrifying keynote address he delivered at the 2004 Democratic National Convention, despite having yet to win election to the United States Senate, let alone serve in national politics, propelled an ascent that turned into a presidential campaign 3 years later. But the head-spinning rapidity of Obama's rise also burdened him. The initial image, superficially appealing yet weightless, followed Obama throughout his primary campaign, when Hillary Clinton cast him as an inspirational Martin Luther King-esque speechmaker as opposed to a viable president, and the general election, when John McCain scathingly labeled him a celebrity, appealing but vacuous. It has clung to him as well over the course of his presidency. A remarkably substantial number of critics and saddened supporters alike have described Obama and his era as a time of unfulfilled promise, poetry without prose. And yet,